Hi, my name is Leona, and I was a yoga teacher for 8 years. And it was going great. It was the most fulfilling career, I would say, for me. I managed to get all of my certifications done and all of my trainings done, and I created my own courses. I created two big ones, one 200-hour yoga teacher training and a 300-hour teacher training, and it was literally the most fulfilling experience of my career because I was able to prove to myself that I could do it, and I was able to share what I know and love to all of my students. And actually, a lot of them are now yoga teachers as well. And yeah, so I'm just going to talk about how I started in this journey and how some of you might be able to join me in this journey as well. So, my journey started about 10 years ago. I was at the lowest point of my life. I had some deep personal issues that I needed to work on, and I happened to stumble upon yoga because a yoga studio opened up near my place. And I thought, hey, why not give it a try? They say it's good for mental health. And at that time, I was really struggling with my mental health. And so I did try it. And it was difficult at first. Like the first 5 minutes of you sitting there trying to meditate, not even knowing what meditation is and isn't. It just was difficult. It was challenging for me physically. It was challenging for the mind because you kind of have to stay there and just, endure the struggle of really awkward poses. But I pulled through that first class and I realized that, hey, this is something that was, not enjoyable at the first few minutes, but it got really, really nice. And on my first Shavasana, first corpse pose, like you do that every time you finish a yoga class, right? The first time I was lying down there after an intense Ashtanga primary series, I thought to myself, hey, this isn't so bad. This actually feels nice and I want to do it again. And so I did it again and again and again. And yeah, about after a year, maybe less than a year after I started my first yoga class, my local studio was offering like an in-house yoga teacher training, and I thought, yeah, maybe I should sign up because why not? I'm not doing anything on the weekends. It was a weekend only training, and I could probably gain a new skill and probably, improve my postures, improve my practice, go deeper into my practice. And I did that. And the first time that I tried to lead a sun salutation, I knew at that moment that teaching yoga is something that I want to potentially explore. And so a few months after that, after completing that training, I was teaching at the local studio and I decided, hey, I actually want to do this for real. So let me try to take whatever necessary certification or training that I need to take. And I was trying to look for one in the Philippines. I couldn't find any. I found one in Manila, but it was like super, super expensive. And now I realize that's just how yoga teacher trainings are priced. But it was a weekend only, and it meant that I had to move to Manila because at that time I was living in my hometown in General Santos. So I didn't want to do that. It extended for a long duration because you only do it on the weekends, and I thought, hey, maybe I could find something more immersive, something like something that would finish in like a month. And I searched, I found courses, yoga teacher training courses in Bali, I found some in Thailand, and of course I found some in India. Now at that time, Parth, who is my current partner, my life partner, I was already friends with him at that time, and so I thought if I go to India, maybe he can, guide me. And yes, I decided to go to India with two other yoga friends of mine at the time. And we went to Rishikesh to do our Vinyasa yoga teacher training, 200 hours. It was such a surreal experience. It was so beautiful. You get to practice yoga by Ganges River. You get to learn all of these amazing, amazing techniques, and you learn yoga from its source. Like, Rishikesh is said to be the birthplace of yoga, and I was finally there in 2014. So I spent about a month in India doing my training, and we started very early. I think at that time we started at 6:30 or 7, and then we would end at around 7 p.m., right about before dinner time. So it was a really long training day each day, and we would do all sorts of things. Like, we would do Kriya first in the morning. So for the Kriya or Shatkarma, we would do the neti pot and the neti thread, Sutra neti. We would do an hour of meditation, chanting, and then we would do our morning asana. We would have breakfast, and then anatomy, philosophy lectures, which are so life-changing, honestly. And then in the afternoon we would do our vinyasa sessions and a meditation class at night. So it was a really immersive, complete experience, and I'm so glad that I did that. And I got certified with Yoga Alliance for my 200-hour training, which is the standard. It's the bare minimum. If you want to be a yoga teacher, you do your 200-hour training first, and if you want to advance, you can do a 300-hour training. And so while I was there in Rishikesh, Parth was with me at that time, and we saw all of these amazing schools. It's just amazing, because if you're a yoga practitioner and you go to Rishikesh, it feels like you're in Disneyland. Is the happiest place on earth, because there are just yoga school after yoga school after yoga school after yoga school. It's like Rishikesh has made it its entire personality just to have yoga schools everywhere. And so in 2014, that was like really, because it's difficult to find it in the Philippines. And I thought, this business model, like having a residential yoga center where the students can stay in a community, eat together, practice together, learn together for a month, this is something that I can potentially replicate in my hometown, in my own country. And so while I was there in Rishikesh, I was already thinking about how I could bring this, experience to my country, because we don't have this. And it's something that can potentially help a lot of people, because we already know yoga is really good for mental health. Yoga is really good for your well-being. And I just want to open that up to, to the people who are near and dear to me. And so when I came back home from Rishikesh, I started teaching at the local gym, a local studio, and at that time, I was flirting with the idea, what if I open my own place? Because my family already has the space for me to teach. Like, my mom had this building, and there was a spare room in that building that I can potentially use. And so I did that. I asked my mom, like, okay, you're just using this as a storage room. It's big enough for a yoga studio. Can I use it? And she said yes, and my family was really supportive. I renovated that room, repainted, cleaned it up, and it became my first yoga studio, Bodhi Yoga Center. We opened the doors of Bodhi Yoga Center in 2015, and I never looked back. Like, was one of the most beautiful things I've ever created. A community of yoga practitioners in the city, no dramas, we just practice yoga there and meditation and whatever. So fast forward to about a year later, I was flirting with the idea of, I was still thinking about Rishikesh and thinking about like the business model that I've learned there. And I thought if I wanted to, really extend the benefits of yoga to a lot of people, we need more teachers. And so I started offering yoga teacher training courses. And at that time, I wasn't qualified to teach yoga teachers. So I hired someone. I connected with someone, and he came to my studio to teach the very first yoga teacher training. And then eventually I did get myself certified. Well, certified isn't really the right word because I was already certified, but I needed to wait a few more years before I could train yoga teachers. And as soon as I hit that threshold of the number of hours and the number of years that you have to be a teacher in order to train yoga teachers, I started to draft my own course, and I created what is now the 200-hour yoga teacher training of Bodhi Yoga Center. And that's where I met all of my wonderful students, Maite and Jana and Mommy Odette and Echo. Everyone in that course was just like super delightful. That was my first yoga teacher training course, and even to this day, that first batch, I still keep in contact with them on a regular basis. Maite is now the lead trainer of Bodhi Yoga Center because I'm no longer in the Philippines, and Jana is also there as our business partner, and we're planning to do really amazing things. However, we did move that yoga teacher training to Siargao, but we still do have a community in General Santos, which is now being handled by my amazing students, April, Charm, Minerva. They were students who became friends. And I think that's one of the most fulfilling things about being a yoga teacher, is that your students, they do become your friends. You do click, and you become this like little family of little yogis, and it's just fun. It's a lot of fun, and so when I met Maite, she was studying with me in Jensen. She's from Spain, but she was living in Puerto Galera at that time, and then she had to travel to Jensen with her husband to do the training. And then they told us that they were planning to visit Siargao. And they did. They visited Siargao after the training, and they decided to live there. They decided to move there. And maybe after a few years, I visited them in Siargao. I think it was like they were living there for almost a year already when I visited them. And well, this was a moment that happened that Maite reminded me, because I don't remember that this happened, but then she reminded me that I said this. When I was in Siargao for the first time, I told her, I'm coming back to this place and I'm going to teach my 300-hour course. At the time, I didn't have a 300-hour course. I was yet to create it. But I don't know, it just felt like I did want to offer a 300-hour course. And wait, let me just rewind a little bit. In 2018, before I went to Siargao for the first time, I came back to India, to Rishikesh again, to do my 300-hour course. And since I did my 300-hour course, I said, yeah, this is something I want to offer again in the Philippines, something I also want to offer in the Philippines. And yeah, so fast forward, I went to Siargao, I did my 300 hour, I was already 300 hours certified, but I told Maite that I wanted to offer my 300 hours in Siargao. And even though I don't remember exactly saying that, I knew that I wanted it. It was all in my brain. It was also in my heart. And so I started drafting the 300-hour course. And it was a rough draft, but I knew that I had to launch it. And so I did. I spoke to the owner of Lotus Shores, where I held my first 300 hour, and we negotiated and we came up with like a really nice solution for the things that I wanted to happen. And they agreed to host my training. And I had 4 students at that time. Always in my courses, I don't really have like too many students. I have a few, but true students. And most of them really do end up teaching in the spaces, in their communities, in their own spaces. So I'm really happy about that. And so that's like the culmination of my journey. When I launched my 300 hours, it was like a different experience from launching my 200 hours, because my 300 hours, it felt like, the yoga community was under a lot of scrutiny about, particularly Yoga Alliance, because the standards were like really bare minimum as far as teaching yoga is concerned. And so Yoga Alliance had like a new administration that wanted to enforce more stringent measures in terms of the standards that the schools are offering. And when I did my 300-hour draft and submitted it to Yoga Alliance, there were a lot of revisions that came back. And so I had to like revise the course again, and it was just so much tougher than submitting for 200 hours years prior to that. So I had to do that. And yeah, eventually I got the approval from Yoga Alliance and I offered the course. And I offered it once, just once. And I realized that I was done. I've realized that I kind of achieved all the goals that I wanted as far as being a yoga teacher is concerned. I've opened my own place, I've offered the course, I've offered the training that I wanted to offer, and I kind of felt, I don't know, empty after that. Not empty, like I'm fulfilled, obviously, but I felt like there's nothing more to aim for. And so I kind of decided to go on a different path for now. Of course, I still want to be a yoga teacher. I'm still going to continue on teaching yoga. But I've kind of deviated from the path of a yoga teacher. So now I went back to business school because I do realize that it is a business. But you're not in there just for the sake of making a profit, because you're actually in that space to serve. And I realized that in order for me to keep on serving, I have to make this business work. I have to make this community grow and thrive. If I were to, let's say, wanting to make it, last. And so in that quest for making a lasting community, I kind of withdrew myself. And so Maite is now there teaching the courses. And I'm here in Australia to learn more about how to make a business actually work and grow and thrive so we can serve more people. And that's been my journey so far. I'm going to talk about details of each of the specific topics later on in my next vlogs. So thank you for staying with me. I know that it was a long talk about the journey, but yeah, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. Remember that you are amazing and you are capable of doing amazing things. It all starts in the mind. Your thoughts become your reality. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Bye.